Oh, what do we have here? Oh, well, it seems like intelligence is white man's mythology. Let's have a look.
We have this notion that somehow if you're poor, you cannot do it. Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids. Wealthy kids, black kids, Asian kids. No, I really mean it, but think how we think about it. We think, no, we're going to dumb it down.
Welcome back to the Waba channel. Okay, so today, as you saw, we're going to talk about an article actually I found on the internet about Mel Andrews, a PhD student in biology, philosophy, cognitive science, and mind at the University of Cincinnati. And according to them, intelligence is white man's mythology. And by men, she doesn't mean human, but rather male. So right off the bat, I just want to mention the jargon she's using. Because Mel, if you want to explain something, you have to be clear. You have to act as if you're talking to your grandparents. Throwing words like sync-categorimatic or non-referring terms or many others actually available via your tweets, and even actually some articles that you share, you will end up with two possibilities. The first one being that people will believe you just because you're credible as a PhD student, and yet probably won't understand you. Then you have the other options that these people have actually no idea what you're saying, and thus won't even try to understand. So I guess here it depends who your target really is. Is it the academics? Is it the public? Is it, I don't know, someone else? You gotta let us know. But I will admit that you did mention at one point that you didn't explain, or rather clarify the problematic well enough. So it seems like the usage of the word intelligent or bright or brilliant seems to be at the core of the issue here. However, in one of your arguments, you used reading as an example of some describing it as something intelligent, and where you pretty much said that it is a skill. So I think it's important now to actually look what the definition of intelligence is. The first one, the highest faculty of the mind, capacity for comprehending general truths, faculty of understanding, comprehension, understanding knowledge, power, discerning art, skill, taste. The second one was the ability to learn or understand or to deal with new or trying situations. The skilled use of reason. The ability to apply knowledge to manipulate one's environment or to think abstractly as measured by objective criteria. So right there, after looking just at those two definitions, using the example of reading wasn't the best option. Because like you said, reading is a skill. You also mentioned intelligence as being non-referring. Let's have a look. Non-referring concepts are mental representations of non-existing things like dragons and time machines. Non-referring words are the words that express those concepts. In reference-based approaches to formal semantics, there is a well-known puzzle about how non-referring words and concepts get their meanings. In other words, you're comparing intelligence, which is the expression of understanding new acquired information, to dragons and time machines? You also called it a phantasmal concept. If we take some random definition of a phantasm, it compares it to an illusion. But to meet you halfway, I think it's better if we use something more specific, something that is maybe more appropriate. So the definition I found that resembles a little bit more what you're, I guess, trying to say, is that which has only seeming reality, permanence, or value. But again, aren't you degrading someone's ability to understand, deal with new situations, reaching the highest faculty of mind by calling intelligence phantasm? Do you think every individual deals with every situations without any sort of struggle? Understand basic truths like the objective reality we're sharing right now? Are you assuming everyone is equally understanding the arts? All skills with the same power of discernment? If you do, you seem to be an optimistic and rather biased one. Although I can talk more about objectivity after my video I made. I'm really rather noticing an extremely optimistic point of view in humans' capability to achieve incredible feats. In fact, it even looks like to you everyone is perfect. But if that was the case, no one would need anyone. Later you mentioned this. There are ways that some of you, us, talk about the intelligence of our black students where it's immediately obvious that they are black without mentioning it, without seeing the student, because you would never talk about your white students that way. True of all racial minorities and queer and women students as well. Similarly, there is a way of leveraging the intellect of a colleague or a star in the field as a selling point that would never be done for the scholarship of a white man. Okay, where's the source? How can you be 100% confident in what you're saying? For these are just words, with absolute zero backgrounds in terms of research. But hey, let's take your word for it. But now let me think. How about the people you call rednecks in your country? Aren't they somewhat a minority? Living in trailers, barely able to make a sentence without a mistake. Don't you have certain assumptions about them as well? Looking through an anthropological lens, I'm noticing that you aren't looking at culture whatsoever. You should know by now that the US called themselves a multicultural society. And there, we aren't talking about 1, 2, or 3, but rather dozens, if not more. So now, let's use your example. It is the same phenomenon that occurs when a white instructor says to a black student in a surprise tone, "Oh, you're so articulate." It implies an expectation that black students will be ineloquent. How do you know the area the professor is teaching in doesn't have a high number of illiterates and non-educated people? Let's have a look. 2017 report by the National Assessment of Education Progress found that just 18% of black 8th graders reach reading proficiency. In 2015, only 17% of black 12th graders were proficient at reading. And to add to that, being articulate isn't a sign of intelligence. It is a skill. So tell me, or rather show us, that being articulate is a sign of intelligence, or at least related to it in any way. Does it mean that all people of color don't have the ability to be articulate or proficient at writing? Absolutely not. But again, this has to do with the geolocation they're in, the culture they're growing up in, the community that is raising them. Now to finish this, let's look at the old colonial times. I would take Nelson Mandela's book, for example. When he was a child, Mandela had to go to a typical British way of learning at school. So it was about history, I guess philosophy, and other things related to British culture, community, and I guess way of thinking. At the time, Africans, due to the lack of technological advancement, especially in weaponry, which by the way I'm assuming here, made the British and other European forces related to intelligence, had a plan to not only colonize, but also educate those people, to civilize them, and even more so in Canada. In fact, special schools were in place to teach kids from Aboriginal communities the way to be a good Christian, the way the British did things, or I guess the old Europeans, taking them away entirely from their own culture, the community. Here's where I join you when you said that intelligence is fake. Those of color were esteemed less intelligent due to their lack of technological advancement, among, of course, many other things. To that, the European found the need to teach these people, to civilize them, incorporate the way intelligence is understood back in Europe. The way they define intelligence is, and probably wasn't necessarily the same of how African cultures, Aboriginal cultures in North America and so on understood it. They were also intelligent in other ways, not less, not more. Anyways, Mel Andrews, first time I read the different articles, the tweets, even the articles you shared, I did consider that you were picking on something just to follow a certain train of thoughts currently happening in your society. In fact, it could still be the case, but all in all, I must say that the work you do is rather fascinating, interesting even. I would never thought to look at such an angle, and I must applaud you at least for that. There's definitely more research to be done, and I should look a little bit deeper, at least in my area of expertise. Obviously not philosophy, but more anthropology. So now the main question, is intelligence fake? So according to the different definitions, I would say that it depends. One of them mentions understanding or comprehending general truths. But what are they? But then if intelligence isn't real, then is stupid real? Or non-rational? But then is being rational intelligent as per the definition? Up to you to decide. If you enjoyed the video, obviously leave a like, comment if you have anything to add or to say, share if you want as well. And I'll catch you next time for the next video. Bye.